What's up, everyone? This is Kronos, aka Adam, and we are back with my episode 2. This is, as I said in my last episode, what I'm going to be doing is a weekend review of both WWE and AEW. And, episode 1 was such a huge success, racking up almost double-digit views, and I think most of them are my own, so awesome. I'm going to be famous. Anyways, so I wrote a lot of notes of the episodes, both Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. I'm going to kind of just go over them as quickly as I can, give my thoughts, and, we'll go from there. Warning, if you hear any background noises, both from the outside or behind me, it's because my neighbors are really loud and obnoxious, and it's a super thin wall, so you might hear some screaming in the background. I don't know, so I apologize in advance. This is what you deal with someone who doesn't really have a studio or knows what they're doing. All right. So we're going to jump into Raw. Once again, I apologize that I'm looking down at my notes, but such as it is. So we start off with Drew coming into the ring, have his promo, the whole, whoever said it's lonely at the top is a liar because you got a bullseye on your back, which is absolutely correct. Kind of talking about how Seth attacked him at the end of last week's Raw, and that, he could make him jump through hoops because, let's face it, Seth Rollins lost his last match at WrestleMania. I don't think he actually deserves a shot at the title, but, with the circumstances the way they are, I don't know if it would have been Kevin Owens. I don't know what other program they might have had in mind if it wasn't for the situation of, the pandemic and everything. So, he says, let's go, let's do this. Garza, Theory, and Zelina Vega come out next. A very funny back and forth between Drew and Zelina Vega. I like their chemistry. It's pretty funny. The number one thorn in my ass. And, they're going back and forth, and then Andrade comes out and attacks from behind. Unfortunately, he suffers a Claymore kick as a result. Zelina then wants Garza and Theory to get in there, and they're like, no, we're good. Which, I'll talk about the faction, a little later toward the end of the episode. Or the end of my Raw review, but it kind of, I'm still not sure what they're doing with this faction. I mean, they're making them strong in a couple of matches, but overall, they've pretty much lost the majority of their matches or gotten just the shit kicked out of them. So I don't know exactly where they're going, but as I said, because of the situation, they kind of have to go with however they're doing it and kind of, almost book on the fly. So, this kind of 50-50-ish booking or not so strong booking for this faction right now, just is the way it's going to go. So, I'm not happy about it, but at the same time, I can't really complain too much about it. So anyway, so then we get our announcement that Money in the Bank is going to be at Titan Tower. The briefcase is going to be on the rooftop, suspended above, and the participants are going to fight their way through the different floors of Titan Tower. My only issue with this is, well, one, it better be suspended, and they have to climb a ladder to get there. I mean, I know that could potentially be dangerous depending on how big the roof is and what kind of area they set up around it. Do they set up a ring with that, with scaffolding? I don't know. Obviously, I haven't heard anything otherwise, but hopefully that's what they do. It's not just like on a table and they have to run and grab it, because that would be really stupid, especially because they have ladders everywhere. My biggest issue is something that WWE loves to do is they get a phrase and they just don't stop with that phrase. Like the too big for just one night with WrestleMania. It was every episode, multiple times an episode, just nonstop. So now the new one they have is climb the corporate ladder. And you can hear them say that over and over again. And, I get it. You're at the corporate headquarters. You're going to have to climb a ladder. It makes sense, climbing the corporate ladder. But we don't need to overuse it to death. And that's what they're going to do. So just be in for it for the next couple weeks. We're going to hear it probably, 100 times, maybe even more. Who knows? It's going to get ridiculous. Anyway, so now to our first match for a qualifier for Money in the Money in the Bank. We have Austin Theory versus Aleister Black, who is my odds-on favorite to win it. I hope he does, because he's just one of the best, and I think they could do some really interesting stuff with him, even if it's just with Drew. Former NXT champions, and I mean, they've booked him really strong. I think he's only maybe had one or two losses. And I think one of those losses was, a beatdown by AJ Styles and the OC. So he's been booked relatively strong, even though he's had a bunch of jobber matches. Zelina is out on commentary. If you don't know, Zelina Vega and Aleister Black are married. So it is really interesting to see her kind of talk him down and go against him like she did in NXT when Andrade and Aleister were feuding, and Aleister did take the title off Andrade before he was moved up to the main roster. And just her and Byron, their back and forth is great. Just the nonstop abuse by Zelina to Byron. Byron trying to hide his happiness for Aleister Black. It was really funny. And obviously King was getting involved, trying to be the heel manager, kind of support Zelina and, take down Byron at the same time. It's back and forth match. Theory did this really interesting Ushigoroshi type, kind of like had his leg kind of hooked under, Aleister's leg hooked under, and then did the Ushigoroshi for a 2 count. But the main part of the match was the selling of his arm injury, Theory's arm, that Aleister was working on throughout the entire match. There was one really funny part where they fight to the outside. Zelina decided to leave the desk to scream at her husband that that Theory is trying to have a fair match and he's ruining it. Which is completely ridiculous. So they get back to the inside. Black wins with a black mass. Looks just brutal. The one thing that I don't like about Aleister Black's black mass now is this new setup that he does. That it started against Johnny Gargano when him and Johnny were feuding in NXT, and that when Johnny was like almost, he took a black mass, was out on the floor, and then Aleister used his foot to raise Johnny up by his chin to set him up for another one. And now that's like his new setup, which, I get, especially because he does do the Black Mass out of nowhere, but I just appreciate that more. I don't like the setup. I just think it looks kind of Karate Kid-ish. And it looks kind of awkward too, because it's like, he's not really raising them. They're basically just standing up. It doesn't look believable. It doesn't look just really good. So I just prefer just the Black Mass out of nowhere, or just stands him up, Black Mass, dunzo, that's it. Another post-match interview where he's, talking about not being part of corporate life, or did he get rid of these, or I don't know. Pretty funny though, but Aleister Black has now cemented his place as a participant in Money in the Bank, so there you go. Next up is Shayna versus Indy Hartwell from NXT. Not really much to go over there. Arm stomp over just like it was last week with Sarah Logan, who was mentioned several times this episode. Interesting. I don't know if maybe they had all these things planned with the Riot Squad and Shayna, and to talk about Sarah Logan's injury before her being released. I don't know. Just interesting to see her get mentioned as much as she did. Probably more in this episode than in the past 3-4 months. There was a post-match beatdown with a ladder, another more just beatdown. So next we go to Ricochet and Cedric Alexander versus Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink, who have both fought in NXT and the main roster right now. I like Shane Thorne. I thought he was pretty good as TM something, I forgot what it was. Then they changed their name to the Mighty. His partner left and went back to Australia to be with his family and wrestle independently in Australia. And I really liked Shane Thorne's gimmick. What he was doing was he was going for the breakout stars of the breakout star tournament, and he was trying to go after one after another, because he felt he was overlooked. Then all of a sudden he fought Johnny Gargano, lost, and then they just kind of abandoned the gimmick altogether. And now he's in this tag team as essentially a jobber tag team. It's frustrating because I thought Shane Thorne is a really good performer. So, it is what it is. Now with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, it's kind of 50-50 booking with them. I don't know what they're doing with them. They gave them matching gear. They won their first match, lost to the Viking Raiders, which I'll get to later. And then they're winning this match again. I don't know what... I like them both. I think they're both incredible performers. I think they are a really cool tag team. I think they can do some really interesting stuff. Some kind of Young Bucks-esque moves that they were doing. which is really interesting. Eventually, they won with a recoil into the lumbar check. Got the 3 count. Once again, I don't know what they're doing, but good for them. And hopefully they keep it going. Next, we have an Asuka Kairi interview. Asuka is, and Kairi are both speaking in Japanese. Kairi is getting a rematch against Nia Jax. Okay, time to fill. And then next we have Bobby Lashley. I'm just going to get it all out of the way now because I thought this was just a meaningless segment. Bobby Lashley, he's going to overturn a monster truck tire because he's big and strong. He does the first one, brings in Lana, goes because he's going to do the bigger one, can't do the bigger one, but then can do the bigger one. I have no idea what this is for because, at first they were kind of selling the eventual breakup between Bobby Lashley and Lana. Now they're together. I don't know, nor do I care. I just don't. Now we have Kairi versus Nia. I'm not a fan of Nia. I just not. I don't think she's... It's not even that I think she's a bad wrestler. I just think that she was brought up soon, from what I can tell. She looks a little dangerous. Some of the things... she's been documented to have hurt some other performers. Obviously, I know she's not doing it maliciously, but it's happened. And it's happened more that we know of than other wrestlers. I'm sure other wrestlers have hurt other wrestlers, but these are more high-profile injuries. So, and then having her match up against Kairi, and the fact that Asuka wasn't even there, she was just watching from the backstage, was very interesting. From what I've heard, Kairi could be on her way out. I believe it's I think her husband or her fiance is, I forget who it is someone in New Japan, I believe. And, obviously she's had offers, I think, from Stardom, it could be, the Japanese promotion. But there's, rumors that she could be leaving, so I don't know. Matches like this kind of make me think that there is a chance she could leave, because they're just not really giving her any kind of real burn. Obviously, they're pushing Asuka and hyping Asuka, where she's kind of the side character. I know she had the concussions earlier, so that kind of stunted it. But since they've been back, and especially now, like, why your tag team partner is not out there when you're at a disadvantage, just seems really awkward to me. So anyway, next is Seth Rollins with a very awkward, very poorly done, 2-chair looking promo about... it was just very weird. It just wasn't done very well. He's still going with the same gimmick, obviously. His flock is there, but they really haven't been talking about it much. I know, I believe it's Akam or Razor, I forget which one, of AOP, just had major surgery, so he's kind of out. So it's kind of just leaving the other member of AOP and Buddy Murphy. And even on Buddy Murphy's ring gear, he has Disciple Murphy. So, they are keeping it going. They haven't just abandoned it that quickly, which is good. But I would like to see, who maybe do they replenish the ranks, or, what are they doing with that going forward. But yeah, so he accepts the challenge, or reiterates the challenge he made, and that he has to win because that's what we all need. Typical heel, promo, but yeah, just the sound quality and the aesthetics of it was just very weird. Then an absolutely cringe, awful Viking Raiders promo of them doing a ride along. It was dumb. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know what they're doing. Next, we have another Money in the Bank qualifying match. We have MVP, who apparently is wrestling, even though he said he was going to be more of a backstage person, against Apollo Crews. I think there was no doubt that Apollo Crews was going to win this. I just don't understand, if they wanted him in, they could have given him somebody else who, would have given him maybe a better match, or just given him a little more credibility winning, because I don't see him, in the eyes of other competitors that he beat MVP. Who cares? He wins with this variation variation powerbomb really good. One of the, I guess, one of the interesting notes was MVP kind of going over his bona fides while fighting Apollo Crews, saying who he had wins over. It's in kind of an impressive list over his WWE career, so there's nothing to, to sniff at, I guess, or whatever it is. Sorry, I got something in my eye. Do I? I don't know. You can't tell, and you can't tell me anyway. So now we have a Ruby Riott interview. Yet again, another Sarah Logan reference, reference to the Riott Squad and how she had double surgery because she was carrying them, and that Liv Morgan, is gonna not be well on her own, which then goes into Liv Morgan versus Ruby Riott. I cannot tell you how upset I've been about the way they treated Liv Morgan. I really enjoyed Liv Morgan. I think she has a lot of potential. I think she has good character, but they hyped up this return, and then they went into a lesbian angle with Lana that really went nowhere, and then that was it. They really didn't have anything for her. I know obviously there were rumors that she was going to be like a Sister Abigail type person for The Fiend, which would have been really interesting, but fine. They didn't want to make her that way. They wanted to make her independent. Okay. I mean, it didn't even make sense. She was under the spell of the Riott Squad, and she was, she's on her own. And then when Ruby Riott came back, she was all happy and like tears of joy that her friend is back, when it should have been, okay, you're back, great. I'm gone. I've been able to, succeed without you. Goodbye. And that would have been it. But no. And since then, they've just made her do nothing, just be there. Matches here and there, wins, losses, 50-50 booking. Who cares? So Morgan wins with her springboard flatline. That's pretty much it. There wasn't no post-match beatdown or anything. It's just a regular match. She won. Okay. I mean, that would have been a point where I would have liked to see maybe Ruby cheat, win, and then Liv, keep the feud going. Liv has something to chase. Something, maybe they'll do that next week. I don't know, but it's just having her win, then kind of just, okay, now what do you do with Ruby? Because Ruby was always the best competitor of the group. She's a fantastic wrestler. Now what do you do? Back to last year, I already went over that. And then our final qualifying match is Rey Mysterio versus Buddy Murphy. So like I said, he's still with Rollins. They showed the Disciple on his ring gear. He's wearing pants now, no more shorts. I like that as well. Rey Mysterio had a finger injury during the match that they sold. It was back and forth. Really good match, actually. So what ended up happening, the final sequence was a sunset flip power bomb fail by Murphy, which then led to a destroyer by Rey, into a 619, into dropping the dime, and Rey wins. Okay. I would have liked to see Buddy Murphy in it. I think Buddy Murphy is the future. I think they, right now, should be pushing some of the younger stars, but I get it, especially when it comes to ratings. You want to push the known stars. It's kind of a weird balancing act, because the longer you don't push them, the more they're not going to be, they're not going to get known. The only way you can push your younger stars and get them name recognition is if they're actually on camera. So it's a weird, double-edged sword you have there, So anyway, so now we have Rey Mysterio, you have Aleister Black, you have Apollo Crews as your three competitors from Raw, along with Daniel Bryan, who qualified last Friday. And then we'll get to the rest later on in my SmackDown discussion. So now we have a Garza Zelina Vega interview with Charlie. Zelina, as usual, just being very catty with Charlie and just abusing her. And then Garza flirts with Charlie. I'm incredibly jealous. Charlie, love you. Next, we have a Charlotte Flair versus Kayden Carter. She's the NXT champion. She should be on NXT. I don't get it. I mean, unless they just need to fill time. Okay. Kayden Carter, I've seen her a bunch. She's really small, but, she does what she can in the ring. She's, getting better. I remember from the Mae Young Classic when she was really green. I mean, she was, botching some springboard stuff, and now she's, becoming a much better competitor. I know she was tagging with Casey Catanzaro for a little bit. Not sure what's going on there. But as you would expect, Flair wins with the figure eight. Not much else. And then we have an Andrade versus Tozawa match. Tozawa trying to get some revenge from last week when he got beat down by the Andrade's faction. He was coming off a win last NXT in the Cruiserweight tournament, which I'll discuss also in the NXT review. There was a senton that he did outside that was absolutely brutal. A forward flip, almost like a cannonball. And then Zelina, got a diversion on him, doing her thing. I'm switching pages, I'm sorry, because I have so much here. Got him, Tozawa got him in the octopus through the ropes. Obviously, there was a rope break. Andrade eventually wins with the draping hammerlock DDT. Good match. But yeah, I mean, as you expected, you want to keep Andrade and his faction strong, and that's what they did. The Street Profits come out to commentary, and Byron's dancing with them. It's cute and stuff, but man, I love the Street Profits, but they can sometimes be much. Loud, obnoxious, a little much. So they're out there because Bianca Belair, who is married to Montez Ford, and is out there with Santana Garrett. I know there was a lot of hype surrounding Santana Garrett signing. I know that they really haven't done much with her since then. They've kind of just jobbed her out pretty much every match. I don't think she's actually had a match win. So yeah, they're just loud, just really really loud. The Street Profits the entire time, and then they stand up at one point, and I totally forgot that they were the tag team champs. That's how sad the tag team division on Raw is compared to SmackDown, which I'll discuss later. I mean, I totally forgot they were the tag team champs, and when I saw the belts, I had to do a double take and then rethink about WrestleMania when they had that match. But Belair wins with the KOD. Pretty much it. They come in, celebrate with her. Done. Drew versus Garza. As you would expect, there's outside interference. Drew is fighting it off. There's one where Drew tries to grab Garza. He's trying to get out of the ring and gets the pants, and then pulls his pants off, as Garza usually does during his ring entrance. And then he does a tope suicida, or plancha, I never get those right, over the top rope, over everybody. Really impressive for a man, Drew's size. On the outside, he Claymore's Theory. He's out. Alabama Slam, attempt at an Alabama Slam into a roll-up, but which ends up being just a Claymore by Drew. Drew wins. Fights off everyone. They all run up the ramp. He runs and then does a slide into a tranquilo pose with the belt. It was really funny. So there's my Raw review. Raw was good. There were some good matches, setting up obviously Money in the Bank, Drew versus Seth for the title. Yeah, it was a good episode. Nothing really too much to complain about. I'm kind of settling into these episodes as they are now. I believe they're live, but I think they're going back to taping. It's very interesting. It's a fluid situation. So anyway, so what are we at now? We're at 23 minutes. Okay, not bad. So now we got to NXT. What was set up last week was a Finn Balor dream match. So we start off with the locker room being completely destroyed and Balor being missing. They don't know what happened. So here we go. Then we cut to Dream at the ring on the turnbuckle doing his impression of Balor, with the leather jacket on it. Adam Cole comes out saying that he doesn't deserve a title shot, and that he probably was the one that did something to Balor, because that way whoever won that match would probably be the number one contender, and now Dream can kind of get in there. Undisputed Era comes out, puts the beat down on Dream. Keith Lee comes out for the save, which is nice because now Keith can kind of rekindle that feud he was having with Undisputed Era. Obviously, we knew where that was headed. Tag team match, which was scheduled later. And then we get the interim cruiserweight title matches. The tournament continues. Then we have a tag team match. We have Chelsea. Shotzi Blackheart comes out on the tank, which is an awesome entrance. I really like that. And Tegan Nox versus Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. This is obviously set up from last week, from when I believe Tegan and want to say Raquel Gonzalez fought, and then Shotzi came out, or vice versa, or it was Dakota Kai. Shotzi came out for the save, and which obviously meant that there would be a tag match. There was some a back-to-back cannonballs by Blackheart Knox on Kai, and then there was an assisted crossbody outside the ring with Tegan and Shotzi, which was pretty cool. Knox and Gonzalez are exchanging blows. Nice headbutt. Negan, Walking Dead. Tegan Knox goes for a crossbody. Gonzalez catches her in midair, almost like literally like 6 inches off the ground. It was pretty impressive of strength, fall away slam. Knox and Kai fight to the outside. Shotzi tries at Casadora, not exactly sure, which then gets turned basically into a one-arm powerbomb and just completely by Gonzalez, destroys Shotzi. 1, 2, 3, match is over. So yes, they did announce the tag team match for later. They also talked about Drake Maverick. So we come back, and it's Jake Atlas versus Drake Maverick for in the first round of the interim cruiserweight tournament. So they talk about how Drake Maverick unfortunately was released and had that very heartfelt video that went viral, and how everybody really came to his aid. Obviously, people were upset about that because he's a good worker, good talker. He can do the comedy, he can do the serious, but it is what it is. They just never really used him right. I mean, they had him freaking pee his pants on a pay-per-view. I mean, that's when they don't really care about you. Jake Atlas, who actually is, I think he's the first openly gay male performer on the roster, I believe. And they kind of allude to that he's fighting for a lot of different rights and a lot of different causes. They do a promo with him, which is really good. So they have a really impressive exchange to start. And because obviously there's no crowd, you get to hear a lot of what goes on between the wrestlers. You can hear Drake say, I need this, right? And Jake says, yeah, I need this too. Drake starts off by trying to use his speed. He hurricane ranas Atlas out of the ring. Atlas begins to use his strength because he has the strength and the height advantage there. A lot back and forth. You can hear they both saying that they need this. So what ends up happening is there's a drop toe hold into the turnbuckle by Drake Maverick to Jake Atlas, into a kick, which then goes into a attempted to kill a sunrise, which is Drake Maverick's finishing move. But he broke out of Atlas breaks out of it. So then the Drake Maverick hits a really good suicide dive, then brings him back into the ring for a really good elbow drop, only gets a 2 count. He tries the sliced bread. Drake ends up with a super kick, which then leads to a cartwheel DDT off the top rope by Jake Atlas. His background is in gymnastics, so he was able to pull off that move. Never seen it before. Really creative move. Obviously, it might be interesting to see how that gets set up over and over again, because it's like, how are you going to allow that? But a lot of moves get set up in very interesting ways. So, we'll see what happens. So there's a post-match interview with Jake Atlas. He's selling it, and as he's talking about how happy he is, Drake Maverick passes by. He tries to say, Drake, and you can under his breath, he's like, I feel bad. He's like, he was rooting for him. He's really animated about that. Animated. He said he was rooting for him. It shows, that he cares, he understands, but, at the same time, this is his own livelihood. It's his first match, his first win. It's for the interim title. I don't think he's going to come out of that. I think it's going to end up being Phantasma versus Kushida in the finals, but I think he's going to have an impressive showing, at least 1 or 2 wins. Okay. Then we get a Damian Priest promo, why he went after Lee. His voice is great. Punishment Martinez. That's really it. His name will live in infamy. So then we get our next match in the Cruiserweight tournament. It is Kushida versus Tony Nese. Sorry for the Kushida promo, all in Japanese. A Nese promo. He was actually never pinned when he lost his title. I forget what pay-per-view it was at. I believe they said it was Stomping Grounds. That he was in a triple threat, or it was a 4-way But he lost the match, but he was actually never pinned, so he believes he's still actually the Cruiserweight champion, which has a legitimate claim because I don't think he ever got a rematch for it. Kushida's showing his impressive mat-based skill. He even poses. They're so loud and so obnoxious, and there's nothing I can do about it. Anyway, so they call Kushida's finishing move, which was originally the hoverboard lock because it goes with his gimmick of Back to the Future enthusiast, I guess. But they call it the Sakurama lock, and he's trying to do that a bunch. There was a really interesting when he tries to do his Kushida tries to do his handspring off the rope, where Tony Nese comes and takes his hands out from him. Really good spot. I've never really seen anyone try to combat the handspring like that. There's Tony Nese tries to do a pump handle, which ends up leading to a hoverboard lock, but he's able to counter it into a Northern Lights. Tony Nese gets a 450 splash, only a 2 count. There's palm strikes by both of them. They're fighting on the top rope, and then they flip into the Sakurama lock, which is super dangerous because it just the way they flip and land. I mean, he's holding the arm behind the Nese's back the whole time. I mean, you could easily dislocate a shoulder, break an arm, but this is what they do, and so Kushida wins. We next get a backstage interview with Riddle and Thatcher. Matt Riddle is one of the best interviews. Just that he loves his tea time, but he misses his stallion. They have 2 different philosophies. One likes to knock out, one likes to make someone submit. And Riddle talks about his beautiful blue eyes, which he doesn't have blue eyes, he has brown eyes, and he's like, don't worry, next week we'll show them all. And, Thatcher's like, what do you mean? Don't worry. So anyway, then we get another Karrion, not Killer Cross, his name is going to be Karrion Cross here in NXT, with Scarlett narrating, and we find out that her name is Scarlett, not going to be Scarlett Bordeaux. And they're not going to kind of go with the smoke show gimmick that she had in Impact. It's going to be obviously a more serious, more goth, villainous type, role. We then cut to the Johnny Gargano and Candice promo that was talked about earlier. Basically, them sitting around the dinner table telling the world that the nice guys finished last and they had been good soldiers. And that no longer are they going to be the doormats of NXT. They're not going to be the good guys. They're not going to be the ones that get stepped on and looked over. While the cup that Johnny used to protect himself was displayed on the dining room table. It's true though. It's true. Johnny. I mean, for all that we talk about here, Tommaso Ciampa was the bad guy. Tommaso Ciampa turned on him first, then caused him to lose his career, which he had to then fight in an unsanctioned match to get his career back. I mean, Tommaso Ciampa was the bad guy here and kind of forced Johnny Gargano into this. Now, I know obviously Johnny's gone back and forth, and I don't know if that's just the poor writing. I don't know what's going on with that and why they're having him, kind of yo-yo back and forth between heel and face. I like him as a heel. I like, a lot of the best heels think they're the heroes in their own story, so I like that. And Candice as well. She's a phenomenal performer. They've always overused her, underused her, and used her poorly. They've always made her the best friend or the one that makes the save, but never really the one that gets the opportunities. I think she might have had one shot, and that was when Shayna was destroying everybody, I believe, and that's it. So they're both going to do that. It kind of cut from black and white with kind of weird graphics and effects. I thought it was a really good promo. I want to see where it goes from there. I have a feeling, and this is just no speculation from anywhere but myself, I feel like eventually if they're going to turn them back to face, it's going to be something where they might come to the aid of Tommaso Ciampa when fighting Scarlett and Karrion Kross, and then they can have the kind of male-female against each other type. Or they could just be both heels and both going at it, just different heel philosophies. Who knows? All right. And then we get an Io Shirai promo, just that she wanted to fight Flair to show how great she is. Everything's in Japanese, but Io is awesome. She's a star. Can't wait to see that match. Then we have a backstage Drake interview. He is obviously visibly upset. He says that he is fighting not just his opponent but himself, whereas everyone else is just fighting their opponent, and that maybe everyone was right about him, and you could just see how distraught he is. I'm really torn because it's like he's gone. Unless it's a major swerve and he's still here, or they change their minds. But are they going to give him at least one win? Are they going to give him 2 wins? Are they going to give him an opportunity? Who knows? I don't know. It's really interesting where they're going to go with that. I think maybe give him at least maybe his last match, whoever it is, give him that win. Let him go off, with a win. Let him feel good. Maybe even the locker room comes out and gives him, like a standing ovation type thing, just something, because so often, they make them job out on the way out. This is a little different. I mean, obviously, the world sees it. And, it wasn't like he was gone, released, and never going to be seen again. Like the majority of people that have been released, didn't have a final match. So it'd be interesting to see. Next, we get a Mia Yim versus Jessi Kamea, who I believe her old gimmick used to be like kind of a nerd gimmick. Now it's kind of more of a heelish gimmick. STO to protect your neck for the win. Done. Flair comes out, very awkward, holding the microphone like she's almost doing an interview. Gives the backhanded "you're a good hand" comment. And you can tell Mia Yim obviously did not take that very well. She was pretty pissed. But, maybe use it as motivation for the fight later. We get a Jack Gallagher promo with the new tats. They look ridiculous, but it is what it is. We then go to a Chelsea Green, Rob Stone promo at Chelsea Green's house. I only know that because between her and Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, when they're always posting stuff on their social media, that's their house. So it's pretty cool. That she's going to be the future champ. They're doing a photo shoot. She's the best, yada, yada, yada. I like Chelsea Green. I've, always thought, I knew her a little bit in Impact, just a little bit, and then obviously she had that really great show in All In the 4-way women's match, and then being signed to NXT, she really hasn't gotten a lot of TV time until recently. I know obviously one of her best friends, Deonna Purrazzo, was released recently as well, which sucks because I really like Deonna Purrazzo as well. Hopefully they have something brewing for Chelsea Green. We'll see. Okay, so next we have Jack Gallagher versus El Hijo de Fantasma. Jack's ring gear is ridiculous. It's half black, half cheetah, red boots, he's pale white skin with his very, very dark black tattoos, the one of a sailing ship across his chest. It's just ridiculous. Most of the match he's going after Phantasma's mask, trying to use that as both leverage and kind of get under his skin. They fight outside. There's a crucifix that gets pulls Jack outside. There was a wild suicide dive by Phantasma, where he just went full force, and I don't know if Jack was supposed to move back, kind of take it a different way. He took it head on, crown of the head, right into Jack Gallagher's face. Brutal spot, but look, awesome. So eventually he uses the Samoan driver, which is basically kind of like a one-wing angel. El Hijo del Fantasma wins, hits him with the driver, and I believe they were calling it the Samoan driver. 1, 2, 3. He gets his first win. Post-match interview, really happy, but in Spanish. No hablo español, so I had no idea what it was. I'm sure it was, celebratory. Next week we find out that Flair is going to fight Mia Yim, which is the match that she's been talking about for the past couple of weeks, so that's good. That should be a good match. And Lee versus Priest for the North American title. So, interesting. We'll see what ends up happening. Then we go to a backstage segment with Phantasma once again doing one for, I believe it's WWE Mexico. I apologize if you're going to hear some more noise. My heater is going on, and it sounds very loud. So, I don't know why the heat is on, because it's hot, and it's getting hotter. So, and I have the window closed because outside noise, trying to be as professional as possible. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So we get Phantasma cutting a promo for WWE Mexico, .com Mexico, whatever it is. And the SUV pulls up with the masked luchadors who have taken Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Phantasma just fights them off, throws them back in the car. It shows kind of a bitch that Wild is and how he just, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, no problem, I'll go in, and just didn't put up a fight and just walked right in. Didn't even, at least Mendoza tried to fight them off. I mean, he's Raul Mendoza, so Fantasma basically just threw him in and said some more stuff. I believe he said, I'm from Mexico. Once again, I heard Mexico, so I know Mexico was involved, but I don't know anything else. Anyway. All right. And so we finally end off with the main event. Velveteen Dream and Keith Lee versus Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. Fish gets kicked out early because he comes down with them. And then right away, Damian Priest comes out of nowhere with his telescopic nightstick and hits Keith Lee in the throat. Obviously, he goes down hard. They cut to commercial. We come back. It's now a 2-on-1. So the Undisputed Era are taking it to him. They get a pump kick into an Olympic slam. He kicks out. They're beating him down for a little bit. All of a sudden, they pan to Dream's corner, and Dexter Lumis, the serial killer himself, is now on the apron in the corner. And we know that Dexter Lumis showed up last week, kind of creeping in the background of the Undisputed Era's tag team title match with Riddle and Thatcher. And, you didn't know why. You don't know who he was going after or who he was stalking or whatever it was. But eventually, he slowly puts his arm out. Dream gets the hot tag. Lumis comes in, clears house. Then he does a Luthez press on Cole, a spine buster on Strong, a side effect on Cole, and then Fish comes back out even though he was kicked out. He does another flip over the top rope, takes them out. Purple Rainmaker by Dream on Adam Cole for the win. 1, 2, 3. He's now pinned the champion, which obviously will solidify him as probably the number one contender, which I never really understood, especially when it's in a tag match. It's like, okay, you pin the champion, but it was in a tag match. It wasn't in a non-title one-on-one match. I mean, yeah, that should give you some clout, but that shouldn't give you so much clout. But I mean, that's just me. So then you see Dexter Lumis creeping, staring at Dream. Dream doesn't know how to handle it, but that's it. Also, really good episode. Once again, nothing to complain about there. Really enjoyed it. I think WWE is starting to, get into a good pattern with these shows now with limited roster. I mean, I understand that this was live, but even the taped, when they go back to taping, I think they'll be able to do it. Okay, finally, I'll try to speed through this because we're at 42 minutes right now. SmackDown was the 25th anniversary of Triple H, so we got a bunch of those throughout the episode. New Day come out. They're the 8-time champs. Big E is just hysterical when he's out celebrating, but there's no one to clap. Lucha House Party comes out, and my first thought was, why? Like, huh? What's Lucha doing out here? Because they've been pretty much, I mean, they're a great tag team. They're great individual performers. They're a great tag team. They're just made to be pretty much jobbers or in really stupid angles like they had with Revival or when they were doing, what's his name? I'm going to forget his name, but oh my God. Oh, Lars Sullivan. When they were having him, they were beating up Lars Sullivan. That was it. I mean, there wasn't really anything for them to do. I heard Lindsay Dorado talk for the first time. Never heard them speak. Miz and Morrison come out. They just walk right past Lucha House Party. Total disrespect. Get in the ring. They just say that it's not fair that they lost a singles triple threat match, that they lost their title, and that their first 3 title matches, which are, elimination chamber match, one on a triple threat ladder match, and then another triple threat singles match that they've had to defend their titles. So they said that you haven't beaten us 2-on-2, and therefore, we should get a rematch. And then Lucha House Party comes in. Now Gran Metalik says something in Spanish. Miz looks at Morrison. Yeah, you fought in Mexico. What is that? Oh, putting him over. You're saying good things. Everyone's like, nah, that's not what he said. Then Forgotten Sons come out. Once again, because Forgotten Sons were pretty much forgotten about all of NXT. So they're in the ring. Really interesting where Miz goes after them saying that they don't respect anybody. And then Jackson Riker is, you don't respect, you're a poser. You played the Marine when we are Marines, which is interesting because I forget if it's Cutler or Blake, was never in the military. So it is a little weird that they never specifically say all three of us were in the Marines. They say we were in the Marines. It's a little weird. I don't understand why they would go with that. I mean, that's kind of messed up a little bit. But, I mean, it's for the gimmick. I mean, listen, they had Sergeant Slaughter. I mean, different time and everything. But anyway, so brawl breaks out. And, Forgotten Sons actually come out on top on this. They're the ones that beating down everybody and beat down the New Day. So we see Triple H as his Blue Blood original gimmick. And that's pretty much it. Renee Young is back, has a backstage interview with Miz and Morrison, and they want a match with Lucha House Party. They want their respect and take care of them. We have a Money in the Bank qualifying match. Drew Gulak versus Baron Corbin. I knew Baron Corbin was going to win because they love Baron Corbin. I like him in certain situations and, certain limited spots, but you couldn't have it without Corbin. Once again, more of that corporate ladder nonsense that you're going to be hearing about. They showed him beating up Elias the previous week. So it's battle of size. Corbin obviously has the size advantage, the strength advantage. Doesn't have the mat technique advantage or the speed advantage, which you do see. But Corbin's taking it to him. That slide in and out, I like it. It's cool. It's athletic, but I just don't understand why more people don't figure it out, especially on the first time. Because obviously, when he does it a second time, more often than not, he'll get caught if he gets him the first time, or if he doesn't get him the first time, get him the second time, whatever it is. They should get him on the first time. As soon as you throw him in the corner, you have to assume that he's going to do that. You turn your back on a guy. I don't know why, but they always seem to do that. They do mention that he won it in 2011. Baron Corbin won the Money in the Bank 2011. Was it? Oh, no. I'm sorry. They say, because Daniel Bryan comes out with Drew Gulak. I'm sorry, I'm getting all drummed out. Bryan won it in 2011 and cashed in and won, but that Baron Corbin won it in 2017 and lost it. Which obviously Corey Graves is good friends with him, tries to tell him not to mention it anymore. It's old news. It's in the past. One move that I saw Corbin do that was really interesting was like a ripcord side slam, which is really cool. Then Gulak does a dragon screw leg whip for Corbin into the stairs, tries to get the advantage there. While the match is going on, Nakamura and Cesaro come out of nowhere and start attacking Daniel Bryan, throwing him into the LED board. Gulak comes out there to try and make the save, but Corbin then takes advantage, throws him into the pole, brings him back in. End of days. Corbin is now in Money in the Bank. Then there's another kind of a beatdown of Gulak by Nakamura, Cesaro, and Baron Corbin. Corbin hits him with the scepter. I don't know if this is just like a one-time alliance, because it just seems like Corbin, everyone's always working with Corbin, but he sucks. I don't get it. So they do talk about Gronk returning to the NFL, and he's still the 24 champ, but he's taking precautions so that he never gets caught. Personally, I'd rather him just take it and go with it, and then like one time, months down the road, maybe during a practice, they film a segment, and he gets rolled up by somebody, and it'd be funny, like Tom Brady's in on it or something like that. But nobody cares. Nobody cares about the 24/7 title. Okay, all right. So then we have a Sheamus, who is the 2015 winner of Money in the Bank, versus Daniel Vidot, who kind of looks like a cross between the Usos and Seth Rollins. This is literally maybe a minute, maybe two, not even. Beats him down, bro kick, and that's it. We'll see Sheamus later on, though. We go to Jeff Hardy, Redemption. Redemption, which is Chapter 3 of this 4-part series on Jeff Hardy. That fatherhood kind of saved him, through his various drug arrests. We get to see Matt a couple times, which is interesting. They highlight the 2017 WrestleMania reveal of the Hardy Boys coming back and winning the ladder match for the tag team titles, which was one of the craziest pops ever. I remember watching it. I don't even remember anything about that WrestleMania except that moment. So, I mean, I was sort of watching, but not as intently as I am now, obviously, doing all this. So next week is Chapter 4, and it's going to be called the Comeback. So then we get Miz and Morrison versus Lucha House Party. Once again, that's Lince Dorado and Gran Metalik. But before that happens, we show part of the DX invasion as kind of the tribute to Triple H. Then Sheamus shows up and slaps the headset off of Cole. Cole cowers in fear. This was a pretty good match, but in the interest of time, it was back and forth. Some really cool moves by both. Mostly by Morrison and Lucha House Party. Miz is not really, as far as the cool moves part. He goes for a skull-crushing finale, but it ends up being rolled up by Lince Dorado for the win. So Lucha House Party get the major upset victory. Okay, wow. I do have a lot, so let me speed through this. Banks versus Lacey in a Money in the Bank match. They use a picture of the daughter to try and distract her. They're working on the hand of Lacey Evans throughout the match. What ends up happening is Bayley tries to distract the ref while Sasha is getting a roll up. The ref is trying to get Bayley out of the ring. He misses the pin. Bayley and Sasha have words. Said, "Stay out of my way." Catches a woman's right, and that's it. Lacey Evans is now in Money in the Bank, which is fine because I think that they're going to start to erode the relationship between Bayley and Sasha, and we can have one of those epic matchups again. And that's pretty much it. So let's see. Okay. Tamina comes out while they're on their way out the ring. I don't know why they're looking around. She comes out where everyone else comes out. Super kicks Bayley. Sasha actually comes to her side. So obviously things aren't totally done between them. What, Rick? There we go. So then we get a Bray Braun kind of package showing the what do you call it? The history between them, how he's the black sheep. We got another AEW guy, Harper. So we got Matt Hardy, we got Luke Harper, and then we also got Billy Gunn. So we got 3 AEW people showing up on there. Obviously, they did as much to kind of cut all those people out. Some things they just couldn't. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Otis and Mandy recap. They're gonna have an Otis versus Dolph next week for Money in the Bank, and a Mandy versus Carmella match, Money in the Bank. There's a backstage between Mella and Brooke. They show another Triple H part when he blew his quad out in 2001 and 2002 return. We have a women's tag match, Cross and Bliss, the champs, versus Mella and Brooke. Pretty quick match, actually. It's funny that they say the history between Mella and Brooke, they've been friends for a long time. Graves comes in and says, well, I'm actually the authority on this, because he used to shoot in relationship with Carmella, so it was kind of funny. I'll just get right to the finish because it was pretty quick. It was kind of like a 3D, but a DDT, so a 3 DDT by Cross and Bliss on Mella for the pin. 1, 2, 3. That was it. Really quick. There we get told that we're going to get a match between Daniel Bryan and Baron Corbin next week. Not a qualifier or anything because they both qualified. And then we get to the highlight of the night, the Triple H 25th anniversary. He comes out, and as he's about to do his water thing, a production assistant comes by, takes the water away. Obviously, social distancing, pandemic, all this stuff. It's pretty funny. This whole segment was just about Triple H having fun, and because that's the kind of guy he's always been. HBK comes out. I popped for that. Obviously, he's repping NXT. I got 2 words for you: social distancing. I don't know why my phone. I don't know what that was for. It's kind of like a Siri Bixby thing. He said he sent out lots of invites, and everybody, who cares, came out. There's nobody there. And that, he remembers, his 25th, HBK talking about his 25th. Turns out he didn't have a 25th anniversary. So, don't worry, Sean. When I get back to the office, heads will roll, something like that. I'm not very good with the impressions. Then they said that, that first when they were DX, they were one-take wonders, and they show all their outtakes, and it's hilarious. Then they show his WrestleMania moments, because they said, you had so many WrestleMania moments, and he apparently lost 13 times at WrestleMania, and where they have Cole kind of post commentating on all these matches, and another loss, and another loss. It was very funny. And then HBK says, everything worked out until you met her. Stephanie No Fun. Then he gets a phone call, a FaceTime call, and Stephanie has the best line of the night, saying, I can see, it's live, I can see Sean mocking me, which he is, and as if Sean doesn't realize it. He goes, tell that no good, lazy-eyed, and then hangs up, which is great. Once again, poking fun at the fact that Sean does have a lazy eye. And then we get a phone call from Ric Flair, who has to apparently fight back tears. We then come back from commercial break. He's on the phone now with Road Dogg, who looks like Randy Quaid. He's like, oh, we're live? I would have dyed my beard. Calls him Brian. They mentioned Katie Vick a few times. If you don't know about Katie Vick, look up Katie Vick. It's one of the most ridiculous angles, gimmicks, whatever you want to call it. It was terrible. Vince comes out, and I was very shocked at that. Vince is all over the place. I mean, you could tell he's getting older. This is why he's not on camera anymore. If he is, it's in very small doses because that's all he can handle and that's all he wants to do. Just making fun of Triple H about how he's boring and he's terrible, and then about their last match, about how bad that was, comparing it to the Gobbledygooker, which is which was a ridiculous someone dressed in a turkey outfit during Thanksgiving for one of the Survivor Series. It was terrible. Said that, compared him to Katie Vick again, another reference, and then Bailey, This Is Your Life, even though he says it's not Bailey's fault, but that was one of the worst segments ever. And that, he basically throws them out, says he loves them, says, he's my son-in-law, I love you, which is funny, maybe a dig at Shane, who knows, to the point where he's just like, okay, you guys are done. And the lights go off, there's crickets, and they get kicked out. And that is the end of the episode. What I want to do here is just talk about overall thoughts of the week. I really liked all the episodes. I thought they were really great matches. But I'm going to give, every week I'm going to give my match of the week. Hopefully I can skill the graphics for that. I don't know, probably not. So my match of the week this week is going to go to Jake Atlas and Drake Maverick. There may have been some maybe better technical matches, but this match, both from a technical standpoint and from a storyline standpoint, not just the storyline, but the way the competitors in the match portrayed that storyline. You felt the emotion. They told a story in the ring. Jake Atlas, it's his first match. He's in this tournament. He's repping a lot of causes besides just himself. Drake Maverick was released. He's fighting for his life. He's fighting for his survival, and you could see it on their faces in the match. The desperation showed by Drake, the post-match interview, even just him, Jake Atlas's post-match interview, and Drake Maverick's. So it was really interesting. So that is my episode 2 WWE Week in Review for the week of, and I just need to see what the week of 420. Hope you all had a good celebration. Once again, my social media is there. Throw me a like. Tell me what you liked, didn't like. Follow me. Not in real life because that would be creepy, but you know what I mean. I'm really trying to build this up to something. Like I said, I'm a complete amateur at this. So, and I'm doing this all in one take, by the way, which is pretty impressive because I've needed many takes for things. So once again, hit me up on social media. Tell me if you liked it. WWE Week in Review, Episode 2. Kronos is me. I am Kronos, a.k.a. Adam. And bye now. Hey, Vince, can I go back to One Man Gang? I don't think this is such a good idea.
What are you talking about? This gimmick is gold. It's such good shit.
Okay.